I have the privilege of introducing one of the few CEOs in Orange County who is almost as tall as I am. But I will say she is far better looking. She's also engaging, intelligent, articulate, capable, competent, and the list goes on. Holly Hagler.
Thank you, Jim. Jim McAleer is not only a fabulous CEO, but he is a wonderful community leader. Please join me once again in congratulating Jim McAleer. It's my pleasure to serve on several community-wide initiatives with Jim and the wonderful staff at Alzheimer's Association. And many of you in the room this evening are executive directors and or leaders of your organizations. And it is a privilege to work with all of you. And I would just like to let you know that I lost my mother and my grandmother to Alzheimer's. So I appreciate the work that you do. Thank you. There's an inventor I know who piled up 13 patents for high-tech innovations like scanning and computer display technology. And another man, a teacher, earned 3 master's degrees and a PhD in government and psychology. And besides teaching over 3,000 students, he advised presidents on education philosophy, and he served as head of a university. And a woman who is actually here with us tonight started singing professionally at the age of 9. She traveled extensively around the country, and she worked with the USO, entertaining our troops. In their own ways, each of these people made enormous contributions to our lives and made the world a richer place to live. But that's not all they have in common. I'll tell you more about that in a moment. First, I want to tell you a story that may seem totally unrelated. Back in the late 1920s and early 30s, more and more people were buying cars. So many, in fact, that automakers started getting worried that they'd run out of customers. So they had an idea. They started making cars that were a little less durable, a little less reliable. Then they started changing the body designs each year, making sure that last year's model suddenly went out of style. The practice spread to every kind of product you can imagine. People who made electronics, for instance, would put parts that could be damaged by heat right next to other parts that would generate heat. Things were actually built to fail and need replacement. That was called planned obsolescence. That's really a fancy term for wasting something useful by throwing it away. So fast forward to today. Most things we have in our homes are cheaper to replace than repair. Heaven help you if you're carrying around something as antiquated as an iPhone 3. I mean, really, you still have a CD player? And bad news for those of you that have high-def TVs, because there's something called 4K that's set to make them obsolete. The length of time between the day we purchase an item and the day we discard it is getting shorter and shorter. No wonder we've been called a throwaway society. Junk it, toss it, stash it. At best, recycle it, just as long as we don't have to deal with it. Now, I'm not here to talk about how that philosophy affects our economy or our environment. I'm here to talk about what happens when that throwaway mentality moves beyond products to people, especially to older people in need. The population of Orange County is aging faster than most other places in the country. The number of older adults will more than double in the coming years, while at the same time the gap between their income and their cost of living will get wider and wider. And if that weren't bad enough, seniors have greater needs. They're also getting lonelier. The homebound seniors we serve have no one to shop or cook or care for them, and they struggle with isolation. For various reasons, their families aren't able to meet their needs, and their needs are getting more and more desperate. And for every senior we know about who's struggling to manage alone, there are many more who are hidden and often forgotten in our community. Now, I started a few minutes ago about telling you about 3 brilliant, just talented individuals and mentioned that they had something in common. As you probably guessed, each one is part of our local senior community, and each one receives life-changing support from SeniorServe. Dr. Sam Samandi, the lifelong educator, philosopher, presidential advisor, and university president, lived alone in a small apartment. Severe back pain made it impossible for him to do his own shopping or prepare his own food. Where else could he turn?
I have very poor communication with my family, and no one who visits me.
A volunteer from our Friendly Visitor program struck up a friendship with Dr. Sam. For 3 years, our Meals on Wheels program provided him with nutrition and something else that's almost as vital.
Human relationships are very important. The kindest delivery man takes time to connect with me, organizes all the food trays in my fridge, and talks with me. I feel I can share me with him. He's like a son.
Dr. Sam wanted to share his story personally with us, but that wasn't meant to be. You see, he passed away just weeks ago. Inventor and engineer Asgar Nielsen also lives alone because his wife of 68 years had a severe stroke, and she lives in a rehabilitation facility.
If it wasn't for Meals on Wheels, I'd starve.
Asgar is 95, but in spite of his declining health and limited mobility, he rides his electric scooter to the corner 4 times a week, gets on a bus, and he goes to visit his wife. And tucked under his arm sometimes is the food that your generosity helps provide. And he takes it to her so that he can share a meal with her. And then there's Barbara.
I was only 9 years old, found out I could sing. My mother says, wow, I wonder if there's some place that we could take her and maybe she could sing for people, you know.
Barbara joined a studio and was teamed with other singers, dancers, even acrobats. They performed all over the country until Barbara was about 20. Then,
a Hawaiian gentleman came out to the mainland looking for talent to send back to Hawaii to entertain the servicemen and women. And we was sent over there, and we were there for 6 months. I was doing something that I loved. I was singing, I was dancing, I was entertaining.
Barbara eventually retired from show business and started a family. Years later, she was driving down the road with her sister when suddenly her engine stalled.
I couldn't get it started again. I said, oh, Dix, what are we gonna do? We can't leave it here, because it was in the middle lane.
She decided to try to steer the car toward the curb as she pushed.
This woman didn't see us. The door was open and it slammed against my leg, and I lost it right there. I said to myself, I went to all that trouble to learn to dance, and this is what happens? I said, thanks a lot. And I'm trying to, you know, kind of joke about it. And I said, God, you must still have plans for me. I don't know what they are, but I've been trusting you so far. So I guess it's okay.
Barbara was fitted with a prosthetic leg that gave her back some mobility until it was stolen. The replacement she got never fit right, even after adjustments.
I just thought, okay, you know, you can do it. Don't quit crying about it. This is it. This is what you have. So I'm in a wheelchair, and I've had it ever since, and it's been a godsend to me.
Today, at 87, Barbara lives alone in a small apartment. Arthritis makes it impossible for her to lift her arms high enough to cook on the stove. A neighbor told her about SeniorServe's Meals on Wheels program, and it changed her life.
They've been so nice to me. And I just, honest to God, I feel like every one of them has, I've gotten a friend in each of them. You just see those people come. And it just makes my every day is that they come is a highlight of my day. I'm not just saying this to be saying it, but they have been the most caring and friendly and helpful people that I've met in a long time. For one reason or another, they just make me feel like I'm worth something.
At SeniorServe, we believe in the value of people. Even if they can no longer sing or dance or teach or invent, even if they can no longer go shopping or cook or clean the house, that's because value doesn't come from what we do. We believe value is factory installed. It's neither an optional feature nor one that expires. It is the way we're created. It wouldn't be politically correct for us to say the elderly have done what they're going to do. They've had their day. Now it's the time to get out of the way. But as so many of you here tonight know, that subtle message is in the background of our throwaway society, and you may be as concerned as I that it is getting louder. My personal mission, and the mission of SeniorServe, is to overcome that philosophy by securing home, health, and heart for our elders so they can live with dignity, independence, and wellness in the homes and communities they love. It's reflected in the nearly 900,000 Meals on Wheels and hot lunches we served to seniors in need last year. It's reflected the way our efforts impacted those we serve. Fewer hospitalizations, increased well-being, improved health, and a greater sense of connectedness. And hopefully, it will be reflected by your response as we ask you tonight to help us to continue to make it happen. But before I tell you how, imagine your grandparents or your parents living alone, isolated, facing challenges, trying to make it on $900 a month in Social Security. That's supposed to cover rent, utilities, food, transportation, everything. And that includes medical care and prescriptions they can't do without. That's a daily reality for the older adults that SeniorServe helps. Too many of them have to decide between getting that vital prescription filled and buying food because they don't have enough to do both. Some are just one unexpected expense away from homelessness. And then there's the loneliness and depression they experience as they realize that the people they counted on as the backup in their lives have either moved away or passed away or simply lost interest. When we come face to face with that reality, that's the time to decide that we, those of us here in this room tonight, stand together as we say no to our throwaway society.
I'm intelligent, gained degrees and higher education, and set goals all my life. Life can still get to you, and you may lose a lot.
So do what you want with last year's cell phone or that computer that's running too slow. But let's join together to care for the seniors in need in our community, for precious people whose factory-installed value can never be diminished. Together, we can nourish their bodies, we can provide for basic needs, and we can help them live with dignity and independence in the homes they love. And when we do, we honor their contributions, we provide hope, and we unite in refusing to throw our seniors away.